Hello, today we're going to be learning together about the Madrone tree. The strawberry tree. The Kotlov or Kotalov tree. Today we're going to try to figure it out.
Hi, I'm Dr. Leon Kenin, licensed acupuncturist, doctor of Chinese medicine with my clinic here in Alonjfut and treating on Thursdays in Jerusalem.
I'm presenting about this tree because of my personal experience and history with it, but not as an expert, as you can probably already tell. I've learned a bit about it on my own, but not with a teacher, so some of you watching may know more about it than I do, and if so, please pipe in and educate me and the rest of us. And please forgive me if I give any misinformation. My interest in this tree started when I first visited Madrid, Spain in the mid-1990s. The symbol of Madrid is called El Oso y el Madroño. Here's a picture of the statue that is in central Madrid of a bear on its hind legs eating from a madrone tree. This symbol is also used in illustrations on various official imprints. Apparently some version of a wild bear and a madrone tree have been on the coat of arms of the city since the 13th century. I first got to know the tree a little bit when I was living in Spain, and then when I later moved back to Northern California in the early 2000s, I noticed them growing around the San Francisco Bay Area. My kids and I used to pick and eat the fruit as we walked around our neighborhood until one of my daughters found a worm in one, and that kind of grossed them out, and they haven't been interested much since then. I decided I wanted to teach a plant walk on the madrone tree because there are two of them in the front yard of the home of my friend, who also happens to be my ex-wife. That got me thinking about this tree again. As I started to look at these trees more closely, however, I noticed that they were not exactly like the madrones I was familiar with from California. The fruits were smaller, for one thing. What's more, the two trees in our front yard were similar, but not the same. Then a friend of mine who lives in Bat Ain, Shoshana Jen Lubin, posted a picture of a similar tree in her yard on Facebook and asked what it was. I piped in thinking I knew what I was talking about and said it was a madrone, but some other people called it a kotlov, and some others a strawberry tree. So I started researching on the internet, and I'm not sure if I'm more knowledgeable now, more confused, or both.
And I am standing in front of a tree, and the question is it a kotlov or strawberry tree, or is it a madrone, or is that the same thing? And that's what we're going to be learning about today. Let's just take a look at this tree. So here we have some leaves, some berries, and a kind of signature red bark that has mostly peeled off. You can see I don't know if you can see little bits of bark here that are still flaking off, and the underlying kind of red underbark. The leaves are kind of hard and waxy, and the berries, right now they're ripe. They have little teeny seeds in them, a kind of a gelatinous orangey yellow inside that you can eat. Sweet, tasty. And then here we have its neighbor over here. Same fruit. Some of them are yellow. The other ones are all red. Also waxy leaves, but these ones have a bit of a serrated edge and are smaller and are bunched together more. And we see these little flowers that look like little bells or paper lanterns or something. And if we look at the bark, it's not peeled off. The bark looks like it could peel off, and it might be a bit red underneath, but there's something different going on here. So are these two different varieties of kotlov, or two different varieties of madrone, or one's madrone and one's kotlov? There's a bee harvesting here. So over here the flowers are much more yellow, but on the same tree some are red. There's a little harvester pollinator. Here's another one of these trees, and let's take a look at this one. Here we see the fruit, they're very small. The leaves have relatively smooth edges. There's a slight jaggedness to it, but mostly smooth. And the bark is this peeled red bark. So what do we have? Here we have a view that is further back so you can see the whole tree. And on this one, this is the one with the yellow and the red fruit with the bark that's not peeled. And you can see that the new branches or stems are reaching for the sky vertically like that. And if we come over here to its neighbor, this is the one that has only red fruit, bigger leaves, no flowers, and that peeled red bark. And it doesn't really have that kind of straight up reaching for the sky new growth like that. So I'm not 100% sure how to recognize the difference between the different varieties of the Madrone or Kotlev, which I've also seen pronounced Kotlev, and strawberry tree. But I'm going to tell you what I do know for sure. The common thing that I see with all of these is a dark green, hard, waxy leaf. The shapes can be a little bit different, and sometimes they have serrated edges and sometimes smaller serrations or no serrations. And they seem to have bark that generally peels but doesn't always peel, or may peel in certain seasons. Usually what's underneath is red. There are some where the bark that peels away is red and what's underneath is shiny and kind of green. And they all have little round fruits that are almost completely spherical and have spiky, bumpy outsides. The spiky, bumpy outsides become soft when the fruit's ripe and you can eat the whole fruit. Inside, the fruit is a pasty kind of orange and full of little seeds. It can taste good, but it has kind of almost like a chalky kind of feeling or texture to it also. It's the kind of thing where you eat a couple and go, that's good, but then you don't really want to eat anymore. The fruit vary in size from about the size of a gumball, a small size gumball, the ones that used to cost a penny, up to the size of a little bit smaller than the gumballs that used to cost a nickel. The Madrone trees that I've seen in Northern California seem to be ones that have a bit of a bigger size of fruit compared to the ones that I've seen here in Israel. So the rest of the information that I'm going to give you now are things that I've gleaned from the internet. The Madrone is a vernacular name for plants of the genus Arbutus. It's a genus of 12 accepted species of flowering plants in the family Ericaceae, native to warm temperate regions of the Mediterranean, Western Europe, the Canary Islands, and North America. The name Arbutus was taken from Latin, where it referred to Arbutus unedo. And apparently unedo means just one. Whoever named this plant either only wanted to eat one of the fruits, or maybe it meant I can't stop after eating just one. So it seems like the species that we have here in the Mediterranean is called Arbutus unedo. And then there's also one that is called the Greek strawberry tree, which is Arbutus andrachne. And then there's another one called Arbutus canariensis. If that's from the Canary Islands, that's also a Mediterranean type. Wildflowers of Israel, a website, says that Arbutus andrachne is the eastern strawberry tree and that the Hebrew name is Kotlev matsui. One type of tree that one sees is a man-made hybrid between Arbutus unedo and Arbutus andrachne, and that's called Arbutus marina, and apparently it was bred in the Marina District in San Francisco, and that's why it has that name. All the different varieties seem to have little creamy white or off-white bell-shaped flowers when they're in bloom, and they're really pretty. They look like little bells or little paper lanterns, and I showed you some photos of those, and some of those are in the videos that I showed. I found a piece on the internet. So in summary, there are various varieties within the species Arbutus with a lot of interesting information. Similar, and one of the things he says parts of the world is that the origin of the name North America Kotlev is in Arabic, and the Mediterranean, combination of the words katzal and av, which are similar to the Hebrew meaning killed and father. And he says that legends have arisen around the name inspired by the blood red bark about a son who murdered his father. He says in folk medicine, all parts of the tree were used against stomach aches, constipation, and skin lesions. They can hybridize with each other in nature, and they've also been hybridized by people. And they're used both decoratively, and the tree can be found in various places growing naturally. And they all have edible fruit and mostly peeling bark. So go out, look around. I'm sure you'll see plenty of these madrones or cataloves or strawberry trees. Now is the time of year to try the fruit, and post comments if you learn more that you want to share with the group. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure sharing with you.